The screeching halt of the Kenworth's brakes was a sound I'd come to dread. My breath hitched. Another day. Another confrontation. It was a familiar, acid-bitter taste in my mouth. Standing there, clipboard in hand, was Susan Jenkins, our HOA president. A woman who seemed to wield the word community like a weapon against anyone who didn't fit her pristine suburban vision. I watched the dust settle around her polished loafers. My stomach knotted. My own gate, the very entrance to the ranch I had inherited from my grandfather, was completely blocked. This was it. This was the final straw. Susan's smile was a thin, predatory line. The sun glinted off the smug silver of her pen as she gestured dismissively toward the parked pickup. I'm sorry, but we've had another complaint about the commercial traffic. Mr. Hayes. This is a residential community, not a distribution center. Her voice was like porcelain scraping porcelain, unpleasant, brittle. The driver, a young guy named Marco, just shrugged, his face a mask of weary resignation. He'd been through this before. Too many times. I leaned against the rusted gate, the familiar cold iron grounding me. Was she for real? After all the notices, all the ignored pleas, my grandfather's legacy, the very livelihood of this land, was being strangled by a woman who demanded perfect lawns and quiet mornings. The low rumble of Marco's idling truck was a physical pressure in the air, a testament to the thousands of pounds of feed waiting to be delivered. I could feel the heat radiating from the asphalt. A long sigh escaped me. A quiet, almost defeated sound. Before I pushed myself upright. Susan. This road has been the access point for this ranch for 100 years. I said, my voice dangerously calm. My contracts are time-sensitive. You know that. Rules are rules. Mr. Hayes. She chirped back, as if dispensing a cheerful platitude. She clicked her pen. The small sound a hammer blow in the tense silence. The HOA board voted unanimously. This area is now restricted from all commercial vehicle traffic from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That truck isn't moving. And tomorrow's won't either. Are you going to keep letting your livestock starve? The cruelty in her question was like a snake striking. Swift and venomous. A deep, cold calm settled over me. She had pushed it too far. The air grew still. The only sound the hum of the truck and the distant chirping of cicadas. This wasn't a negotiation anymore. I gave Marco a slight nod. A silent signal he understood completely. He pulled out his phone. Already dialing. Susan's eyebrows shot up. Calling the police. You think they care about your little? No. I interrupted. My voice low and steady. I'm calling my attorney. And he's bringing the deed. Her face hardened. She thought she was so clever. So invincible. But what she didn't know was that I hadn't just been waiting. I'd been working. Weeks of sleepless nights. Sifting through ancient land surveys and obscure zoning laws. The twist came in the form of a forgotten 6-inch wide easement. An old logging path. Long since paved over and incorporated into their precious, private lane. But it was still legally. Irrevocably. My grandfather's. The road they now considered theirs, their only way in or out to the main highway, was actually split right down the middle. And the deed to my part of the right-of-way had never been sold. A black sedan pulled up. And my attorney, a sharp-featured man named David, stepped out. He carried a leather briefcase that looked far too important for our dirt road. Susan's smile vanished. David didn't waste a second. Mrs. Jenkins. You are in violation of a standing easement. A court order was issued this morning. Your obstruction of this road is illegal. And I'm afraid it's about to get very, very expensive. His words were a cool breeze cutting through the suffocating heat. Susan's eyes went wide. The smugness drained from her face, replaced by a dawning horror. What? No. No. That's not possible. She stammered, her voice losing its brittle certainty. Her perfectly manicured hands trembled slightly. This is a joke. A prank. This is our road. She shrieked, her composure finally shattering. The veneer had cracked. David simply held up a sealed envelope. This court order says otherwise. And as of today, Mr. Hayes has acquired full ownership of the entire access road from the main highway to your gate. The HOA no longer has a legal right to passage. But. He paused, a slight smile playing on his lips. He is a generous man. He is willing to allow a usage fee. As of this moment, every vehicle, commercial or private, that leaves your subdivision and heads to the main road will be charged a toll. The toll for a commercial truck is, per the court order, $50 per axle. Your 2-axle pickup, Marco, will be $100. The funds will be transferred to a trust and used for the continued upkeep of the road. And, I believe, for a community project of Mr. Hayes's choosing. The silence was deafening. Marco just stared, his jaw slack. Susan's face was a study in pure, unadulterated fury and defeat. A tear of frustration welled in her eye. She was cornered. She looked at me, her gaze a desperate plea. But I just met it with a quiet, steady stare. You wanted to play a game, Susan. You wanted to push a rancher. This is what you get. It's what you asked for. The word spread like wildfire through the HOA group chat. I could almost hear the frantic key taps, the indignant texts, the immediate backtracking. As Marco's truck finally pulled forward, now legally permitted at an insane cost, I could hear the distant, angry buzz of a lawnmower from someone else's yard suddenly fall silent. A neighbor, Bob, poked his head out. He had always been sympathetic. His face was a mixture of shock and quiet satisfaction. The rest of the afternoon was a symphony of frustrated car horns, the squeal of tires, and the low, defeated hum of engines as cars lined up, their drivers forced to hand over their debit cards to Marco, who had been deputized as my first ever toll collector. Susan, utterly defeated, stood by the side of the road, her clipboard forgotten, her head bowed in shame. She had played the game and lost everything. What a beautiful sound. The rustling of legal documents, the soft, whispered pleas of my neighbors, the righteous fury of a man who'd had enough. She had built a fortress of rules and regulations, only to find the moat was her own wallet. And I had the keys. The following week, the HOA members, led by a newly elected, much more reasonable president, came to me, hats in hand. They proposed a deal. They would repeal all the absurd restrictions on my ranch traffic and pay for the legal fees if I would just, please, lower the ridiculous toll. I smiled. A genuine, easy smile. The first one in a long time. They had finally understood the value of a good neighbor. The money from the first few days of tolls was already substantial. Enough to start the new community garden I'd wanted to build for years. I had one. But it wasn't about the money. It was about principle. It was about showing that arrogance, cruelty, and ignorance would not stand. And as the trucks began to flow freely, I watched a new sense of peace settle over the valley. One forged not in conflict, but in the quiet, undeniable power of justice. What do you think? Was my retribution justified? Or did I go too far?